So here is a program to use the classes using member function. It can inside or outside the class definition. Okay, so ಇವಾಗ class definition ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅಥವಾ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಯಾವ ತರ member function ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ previous session ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ. So in this program we have both inside and outside the class definition. Okay, so first they have included header files and class name is item here, and then int numbers float cost. So these two are the data members of a class called item, and then it has a member function called get data and put data. Okay, so get data ದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಎರಡು ಆರ್ಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ they are just declaring the member function. Okay, so ಯಾವಾಗ member function ಅಲ್ಲಿ semicolon ಇರುತ್ತೆ, that indicates that they are just declaring the member function. Then it's going to be defined outside the class definition. Okay, so when you want to define the member function outside the class definition, then inside the class you have to just declare. Okay, so that declaration includes data type along with the function name or member function name or method, and then within parentheses you have to specify whether any parameter or values are there. Okay, then void put data. So in this they are using inside the class definition. Okay, so number ಮತ್ತೆ cost ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆನೆ define ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, so that this has a body of the function. So put data is defining inside the class definition, and this get data is defining outside the class definition, so that inside the class they have just declared the member function called get data, but put data is defining inside the class definition. Okay, then this indicates the closing of put data function, and then this indicates the closing of main class called item. Okay, so ಇವಾಗ ಈ member function ನ outside declare ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, void, then class name is item, scope resolution operator, and then get data. So you can see here void item scope resolution operator get data of int a comma float b. So these two are the parameters or arguments which is sent through that member function called get data. So they are assigning the value of a to the number and value of b to the cost, and then this indicates the closing of this get data function. Okay, here is a main function int main. So I have to create an object for the class called item. So item x semicolon and x dot get data. I have to send the value of a and b. Okay, so a ಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ 250 ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, and b ಗೆ 10.5. why? Because we have used float as a data type, so I have to use the float values. Okay, then x dot put data return 0, and then indicates the closing of main function. So if it is int main, then we have to return some values. If it is void, then no need. Void does not return anything. So a will be assigned to num and b will be assigned to cost. What is the value of a? 250. Okay, and value of b is 10.5. So that output will be like number equals to 250 and cost will be 10.5. Okay, so this program is regarding how to use the member function inside or outside the class definition. Okay, next is defining an object of a class. So ಇವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ object ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ. Then how to define the objects? This is nothing but defining of the object. First we have to take the class name, and then we have to specify the object name, and then semicolon. You can create any number of object to a particular class. Okay, so defining of an object. An object is a real world element which is identifiable entity with some characteristics. That characteristics is nothing but attributes, and the behavior is nothing but function. Okay, so object andre eno, it includes both characteristics or attributes and behavior or function. Okay, so object is nothing but it is an instance of a class, and objects are sometimes called as instance variable. So object is also a variable that has both attribute and function. Okay, so object na yavaglu ಎಲ್ಲಿ define ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, main function ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Objects are always normally defined in the main function. So here is the syntax for the definition of an object. That means class name. This is nothing but definition of a class, and how to create an object for that class is last line. So class name, object, class name, object name 1, object name 2, up to n objects. So you can create any number of the object. Here class is a keyword that is optional. You can use class keyword, or else you can directly use the class name. For example, in this program we have item x. So item is nothing but, here a class name is item and x is an object, and you can also create x1, x2, x3 like that. Okay, so you can here use class keyword, or instead of that you can simply use a class name along with number of objects. So this is regarding defining an object. Okay, so that's going to show how to declare and create the object. So here we have a class called student, and these are the data members. Roll number, name, gender and age are the data members of a class called student, and get data and display are the member function. This indicates closing of the class student, and here we are declaring or creating a object. So S1, S2 and S3 are the object or instance of a class called student. Okay, when an object is created, space is set aside for its memory. So when I have created an object called S1, S2 and S3, some respective space is allocated for each of the object of a class. So this is regarding definition or declaration of a class, or else you can also send some values through that class itself. Okay, here S1 and S2 are the object of class called num. So this is regarding declaration of an object. Then how to access the member of a class? So member is nothing but data member and member function. Okay, so data member ಅಂದ್ರೇನು, ಯಾವ ವೇರಿಯೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ನ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ, that is data members, and the function which is declared inside the class is known as member function. Okay, together they constitute called class. The member of a class can be data or function. As I told earlier, it can be data members or a member function. Okay, and private and protected members of the class can be accessed only through the member function of the class. How it can be accessed? Private and protected members of the class. So ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಯಾವುದು ಡೇಟಾ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ನ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ, then that can be accessed only through the member function of the class. So data members na access ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಬೇಕು? member function ಬೇಕು. Okay, so here you can see that here x and y are the data members, and in order to access this x and y, I have to take any of the member function, that is sum and difference. Okay, no function outside a class can include statement to access the data directly. So if a function is outside the class, then that kind of functions cannot access the member function which is included in a class. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಯಾವುದು ಡೇಟಾ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಇಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಂದ I cannot access the data which is present inside the class. Okay, then the public data members of the object of a class can be accessed using direct access member access operator. So public data, it can be either data member or member function. ಯಾವುದು ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫೈರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಹಿಯರ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್. ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ member function outside the class by making use of the dot operator, that is direct member access operators, that is dot operator. So in order to access any public data members of an object of a class, then we have to use the direct member access operator, that is dot operator. Okay, so we'll see how to access the members of a class by making use of that dot operator. So here is the syntax for accessing a data members of a class. Object name dot data member, and for accessing of the member function of a class, object name dot member function and arguments. Okay, so here is a syntax, object name dot data member. So you can see here, what is the object name here? S1 and S2. Okay, so object name is S1 and S2. So data member yadu X and Y. X and Y are the data members. So if I want to access X and Y, then I have to use S1 dot X. If I want to access the member function called sum or difference, then I have to use S1 dot sum or S2 dot diff. Okay, so this is how we can access our data members and member function by making use of that direct member access specifier operator called dot operator. Okay, so you can see the syntax here. So this is very important. You can see here class name is rectangle, int length, breadth, area. So these three are the data members. So if it is not include any access specifier, by default it is private in nature. Okay, then void get data. So get data we are defining inside the class. Okay, so if it is defining inside the class, then it's going to have the body of the function. So that void get data, and then it has two line of code, enter length and breadth, see in length and breadth. So void compute is another member function, that is area equals length into breadth. First I have to take length and breadth values, then it's going to compute the area of a rectangle. Okay, then void display. See out the area of rectangle is where it is stored, the value of length and breadth will be stored in area. Okay, then this defines the closing of class, closing of the member function called display, and this indicates the closing of class definition. Then void main rectangle. So here rectangle is nothing but class name and R1 is a object name. Okay, so in order to access any data members and member function of a class, I have to use the object name along with the dot operator, and I have to specify the member function or data member name here. So in order to access get data, I have to use a code called r1 dot get data and r1 dot compute, r1 dot display. Okay, so when this r1 dot get data executed, it's going to ask the value of length and breadth. Then it's going to compute the value of length and breadth, that is 30 and 10. So it's going to multiply the 30 with 10. Then it's going to display the value of area of a rectangle. So 30 into 10 will be 300. Okay, so in this single program only you can going to get how to access the data member and member function, and how to define the object of a class, and how to define the member function outside or inside the class definition. Okay, so this is regarding declaration of an object and accessing member of a class, and here is a small example regarding those two topics.